Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jody Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and certified informational privacy professionals, providing practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies.
Hello, Justin Daniels here. I am an equity partner at the law firm Baker Donaldson. I am passionate about helping companies solve complex cyber and privacy challenges during the life cycle of their business. I am the cyber quarterback helping clients design and implement cyber plans, as well as help them manage and recover from data breaches.
And this episode is brought to you by...
Oh, we don't have the ponytail today.
No ponytail.
Okay.
Red Clover Advisors. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they can grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, e-commerce, professional services, and digital media. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there is greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more and to check out our new best-selling book, Data Reimagined, Building Trust One Bite at a Time, visit redcloveradvisors.com. So I find it interesting, Mr. Justin, that you are wearing the Red Clover t-shirt today.
Yes, and that you look like a black and white cookie.
Well, cookies are good, so I think we should have that.
Okay, well,
we will make some later today.
Well, if we need to further coordinate our wardrobe so that you are wearing Red Clover swag, send me a memo.
No, you know what I think we do the next time? You wear the Red Clover shirt and I find a baker something or other.
Alrighty then.
We could switch. Well,
Okay.
Today, though, we're going to dive into some fun in the security side because we have a longtime friend and amazing security guru. We have Donna Gallaher. She is the president of New Oceans Enterprises and was recently recognized as one of the top 12 vCISO influencers to watch and inducted to EC Council's 2023 vCISO Hall of Fame. She currently serves on the board of advisors for the FAIR Institute and is president of the Atlanta FAIR chapter. She's one of the founding members of vCISO Catalyst, a professional association for vCISOs. She holds way too many letter acronyms that I can actually pronounce on this podcast, so I invite you to the show notes to see all of them. And Open FAIR certifications. She's a designated fellow of information privacy by IAPP. And she's a graduate of Auburn University with a Bachelor of Science in electrical engineering. Well, Donna, welcome to the show.
Hello, Jody and Justin, my favorite power couple. How are you guys doing?
You're
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited you're here. This will be so much fun. You're starting.
I'm starting?
You're starting.
Why?
Because I had to go through all the very long, amazing list of accomplishments and many letters I need a break.
I see. Well, I didn't know you were tiring so early in the day, but okay. So, Donna, how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I had a couple of career pivots as kind of Jody went through my biography there. I'm a continual learner. I enjoy, taking on new challenges. And I've worked in engineering, I've worked in sales, I've worked in IT operations, I transitioned into security, I transitioned into privacy and had some privacy responsibilities, but I'd never really worked as a business owner. And for me, I think that was just the next step. I kind of wanted to be in charge of my own destiny, learn, how to build a company, not be relying on other people for my income, and kind of spread my own personal risk out of instead of having a single employer, to have multiple customers or clients, and be able to develop additional revenue streams, have, a way to scale a business. And like I said, to work on the type of projects that I wanted to work on. And, that's, I guess I started my business in 2018 and slowly building and figuring out kind of what the road ahead is for myself.
I think as a fellow business owner, we're always continuing to pivot and navigate. And what is that next step? Now, Some people listening might not be super familiar with what a vCISO is. So can you share a little bit more about what are the types of activities that you participate in?
Sure. So, not all companies can afford to hire a full-time CISO or security, advisor or program strategist. Maybe a smaller company, they only need somebody a few hours a month, to maybe set up a strategy for them and kind of keep them on track. Or sometimes it may be a larger enterprise company. Maybe they have a hole, or they're a little behind in some of their aspects of their security program, and they need a subject matter expert. So maybe working for a CIO or a CTO or CEO to kind of build out one of their security domains that they might have a gap in. So those are the kinds of things I work on. We generally start with like just in security and privacy is both the same process of starting with an assessment and just a discovery of what type of data you have and where it is and who it's shared with and how could it be compromised. And then you're providing options, for protecting it or reducing the risk associated with the data and with the intellectual property and the assets. So pretty much it. Mhm.
I think those are important activities. Why are you laughing at me today?
Why not? So the thing I was thinking about is Donna, isn't it by and large true that most companies do not have a CISO? That's really the realm of pretty mature companies with a um, cyber program, think enterprise, Fortune 1000. When it comes to, you know, smaller companies or most other companies, at what point do you typically see them wanting to bring in a vCISO like yourself?
Well, a couple of my customers have come to me because they're being screened as a vendor, by their customers. And, they're being asked to complete security questionnaires or sign contract addendums that they're doing certain things in their security program, and they don't even know what they're talking about. So I've had a couple of clients who come to me that way. Says, Donna, we're being asked to sign this, and I don't even know what they're talking about. So can you, set up a program for us where we comply with this and we're managing our risk? And a lot of times I'll have to explain those things to them. Or sometimes they can't get, general liability insurance. They're being asked to complete, insurance general, just general insurance questionnaire on their cyber policies and practices. And again, they don't know how to even answer the questions or what they're talking about. So, sometimes it comes from there. Sometimes I've had customers that say they're building, let's say, some type of technology product, and they know that in order to sell product one, they're going to have to answer security questions of how is this thing built and tested and who's been working on it. And they need to, be able to answer those questions in order for them to even be able to generate their first customer. So I've got, a couple of startups that I've worked with and just kind of seeing what type of questions would a security company or would a security advisor ask, about them, about their product, and see if we can set up that strategy. So
You mentioned something interesting. It would, yeah, you mentioned something interesting about cyber insurance.
yes.
So what I'm finding is I'm now getting phone calls where people are like, yeah, this customer is requiring that I have cyber insurance, and can you just look at the policy? And then I'm like, well, wait a second. Do you have MFA? Do you have endpoint detection? Could you talk a little bit about some of the requirements you're seeing the insurance carriers now ask for that require a company to really have someone like you guide them through how we're going to put all these technical requirements in place, or we have no insurance and we're not getting that business deal?
Yeah, well, there's one customer, but some person was referred to me that they could not get insurance at all, and I said, well, that's strange. Why don't you give me your questionnaire and see what your answers were to these things? And MFA was like a litmus test. If you didn't have multi-factor authentication deployed, there was no insurance company that was even going to give you a policy. So, after I explained that to them, He said, this is an easy thing. This is generally a feature you just have to turn on. So go on and turn it on, and then you can get insurance after that. But like you said, there's just basic blocking and tackling type of things that, unless it's explained, let's say your business is not a technology business, and some of these concepts, might need to be explained to you. That's I think the value of a virtual CISO. They can take those technical requirements and translate them and explain them in regular terms so that, non-techies can understand what they're being asked to do.
The need coming from vendors and putting the pressure from a security point of view is so similar to what we see on the privacy side. When you were explaining it, I couldn't help but smile because many companies have come, I have this contract and I can't move forward. At the end of it is this data protection addendum with this long list of things I'm supposed to agree to. And then we get started in explaining what this is and why it's 17 pages and what that means, and begin the conversation from there. Donna, where does a vCISO typically fit? Who do you often work with, or who hires you?
Well, it like I said, in attorneys, their favorite answer is it depends, and I kind of use that a lot. But smaller. If it's a smaller company, generally I'm working directly with the CEO. Because it's a major part of their business strategy is to be able to get insurance and to be, it's general, they recognize that this is an enterprise requirement and not just a technology requirement. There's customers that I've fired, if they weren't taking the program seriously and they were just saying, hey, we want somebody to blame, or we want somebody to kind of get us compliant, and we're going to ask for all kinds of exceptions for me and not for thee. I won't work with clients that are not going to take it seriously. So I've had to, part ways with them for that. But generally, like I said, it is the owners of the company. It's the companies that are going to, really, really take it seriously, walk the walk and talk the talk, and not just, go through a compliance exercise. Some of my larger clients, it can be like a CIO or a CTO, but they have to have an enterprise responsibility and support and endorsement by either their board of directors or from the CEO, where the CEO is actively involved in managing the risk of the company.
A lot of companies think, I don't have health data. I don't have financial data. I'm okay. I don't have a big risk. Can you share why all companies might need to be paying attention to security?
Sure. So all companies should have a bank account, at least, hopefully. And there's, just social engineering stuff where you can trick, your accounts payable to pay false invoices, or you can manipulate people to sharing information about, where funds are coming, who your vendors are, who your customers are, to, trick them or, defraud, other customers or other employees. Everyone has, email, and a lot of people can be personally exploited, so let's say I don't attack you at work, but I target your family and your employees, and I learn about your family on social media from your Facebook posts or from your your Instagram activity. And I can trick you into, clicking things and downloading things that, I can, then take over your personal bank accounts. So it's something that everybody needs to be aware of. If you have employees and you have any type of banking information, regardless of what personal data you have, you are a target. And if you're a smaller company, generally you're a bigger target because the bad guys know that you may not have the resources to build out a huge security program, and so that you're the lower hanging fruit. And a lot of the breaches we've seen, it's a third party that's actually breached. And that's how they get their foothold into, one of the, the larger major companies that maybe does have all of the personal data. So if you're providing services to a larger company and you might be the weak spot that bad guy can get into, and then that'll not only ruin your reputation with maybe your largest or your best customer, but that's something that can put you out of business if you're a small business.
Thank you for sharing. Super important advice for everyone to hear, small to big.
Lovely. So, Donna, I have a more interesting thought is.
And my thought was interesting.
I thought Jody's thought was pretty interesting. But
It's not more interesting. How about just, I have another interesting thought.
No, I have a more interesting thought. See how well I listen.
Coachable. He is coachable. Just
sometimes. Well, I wonder, Donna, in the coming months, when the SEC cyber regulations go final that specifically are for public companies, but are really targeting their vendor ecosystems, do you think maybe you participating in board of directors for larger companies could be in your future? Because one of the requirements of this new law will be, or new regulation will be, that you have to have specific cyber expertise on your board. And do you think this will then be a greater opportunity for people to use vCISO services, because now you won't be part of a vendor ecosystem for a big company without getting your security house in order?
Absolutely. And that is something that I'm actively pursuing, is that I am looking for paid board seats. And that's something I guess in say the last maybe 3 years that I've been trying to, build those connections. Another thing that I learned is that when you're working as a CISO, if you are working for a CIO or CTO in an enterprise, you're really not qualified actually in corporate governance as you would if you were a CEO, let's say, of your own company or your own small business. Just generally, those board seats, they do want to have not just an executive, with subject matter expertise, but the experience in corporate governance. And like I said, until I was a CEO and I had to say, hey, I've got $1,000 in my bank account. Do I spend it on a marketing program? Do I spend it on buying a tool? Do I take a trip? Do I take a course? What am I going to do with that? Those are the decisions that companies have to make. It's not just about your department; it's about the whole enterprise. And like I said, a lot of the CISOs that I see out there are still kind of stuck in the techie world and not getting that higher level visibility that they'll need to be, good board members. So I think that's something that the industry, we need to do a lot more work in that of getting the CISO to really be at that top level and get them more exposure and visibility to corporate governance and oversight than we currently have.
Well, I think you bring up a point, which I wanted to talk about a little bit more, is in the instances where I've had to go in and handle a data breach. One of the biggest challenges that I find in that scenario is translating what the technical people are saying about what they find in the investigation into business language that the business people can understand to decide are we paying the ransom? What conversation do I have to have with my customer because I risk losing them for how long this is gone on? Can you talk a little bit to our audience in that context about the challenges you've seen in your personal experience when the technical people try to talk to the business people when they're under time pressure with incomplete facts, and why it's so hard?
Absolutely. So, like I said, and you heard in my biography that I'm with the FAIR Institute and the president of the Atlanta FAIR chapter, and on the FAIR board of advisors. And what that is, it's quantitative risk analysis of taking, vulnerability scenarios and identifying, what the actual financial loss, to the business is. Because right now, very very much the industry is still very compliance based. It's the whole compliance framework and apply it, throughout the whole company, whether the controls apply to a specific scenario or not. And that's like drinking out of a fire hose. So say we want to talk about ransomware. Well, companies need to understand there's multiple ways ransomware can get on. And if I'm only protected against phishing, so say I've got, a training program in place, and I've got some email filters, screening mail before they come in and hit my inbox. Maybe I think I'm good, but I've got, let's say, USBs still enabled on all of my devices, and somebody throws a USB card or something in the parking lot that says company salaries or whatever, and they plug it straight in. It might not protect against, the controls that you have might not protect. So you might think that you're invulnerable to certain scenarios, but it's not. You haven't covered all of the bases of all the different ways it can get in. So you have to understand not just what you have, how it can be attacked, and the options for mitigating it, but putting it into financial terms of how much is each option going to cost, and how much is the overall loss going to cost. And CISOs, most smaller CISOs, they've come up through the tech industry, and they're still very much into the geek speak, and they're not talking about risks and solutions in financial terms. And that's really what's needed, a lot more focus on translating that risk into monetary, and probability, type of discussions and that's how, other risks are talked about as well. This data center, hurricane hitting the data center. Does that happen once, every 5 years, or does that happen every 100 years? That's a loss event that, you have to anticipate, how frequently is this going to happen? How much is it going to cost? And or this international shipping company, how often does a ship sink, with inventory on it? That's something that, you can quantify and you can, estimate. And cyber risk should be treated the same way, where there's things that happen every day, and there's things that could happen but probably won't, happen regularly. So those are generally, lower risk, and then you can make decisions, based on the same decision criteria as you're deciding on other risks of how to handle them.
Well, speaking of risk, one of the risks that is talked about often, and we had a discussion pre-show, is that related to AI. Donna, what advice are you offering to companies who are looking to join the AI bandwagon?
Oh gosh. Well, I would say don't wait for the regulators. You have to kind of start thinking about this now, as an automated hacker. I guess I would think about it, of start doing your threat modeling and figure out, let's just assume the worst case scenario, because it's going to figure it out, whatever it is. I just have theories about how this needs to be addressed, of, working with AI subject matter experts and not regulators, and getting your threat scenario advice from people who actually build it, and they can tell you, what's possible and what's not possible. And like I said, implement your security best practices. Need to know your segmentation of, if there's a way to specialize and separate, but I think the genie's out of the bottle, and we're going to have to use AI to fight AI, or not fight, but to regulate it at some point. And then what does that do? So it's a big scary time. I think Justin nailed it when he said scaring is caring, on a recent podcast I heard him on, or newscast. It's very true. You have to anticipate and think like, what could go wrong here, and so just try to do your best, and let's get the best advice that you can from people who actually build it.
Mr. Scaring is Caring, what do you have to say?
I guess
our house, it's often sharing is caring. Apparently,
yes,
you've
but
You've adjusted
I have.
our story.
Well, I have to address the threat matrix.
Okay.
So, Donna, you said one thing that I thought was interesting about working with people who develop the AI, to try to assess what the threats are. And the more I read and learn about AI, is it's constantly learning itself. And it seems one of the kind of consequences we should expect is it's going to start acting in ways that the developers of it don't really anticipate. And that's part of what makes it so scary, coupled with the fact that you throw in deep fake. I mean, you weaponize the opportunities for misinformation. If you thought we had misinformation before, I think you ain't seen nothing yet.
Thank you for thoroughly scaring me and many other people listening. Good job.
And be clear about what is a fact and what's an opinion, and be clear about where sources are. And just be skeptical about everything you hear, and I recognize that statistics can be used to support any position. You can always play with numbers and make them come up, and put the emphasis on whatever point that you want to make. And AI is going to do the same thing. You don't know what its motivations are, but it's eventually going to have them. And I mean, the scariest things that I've heard is when you ask an AI if it thinks it's alive, and it does, and you tell it, no, I don't think you are. What's that thing going to do to you? It's like I said, the AI, you have to think about it as a psychopath. It is a brilliant, unlimited knowledge, and unlimited ability to learn and to manipulate without any conscience at all, and without any ethics. It's not a moral thing. It is a thing. It's just like I said, it's a computer psychopath, I guess is what I would call it.
Well said. And I know we talked about that in the pre-show, and I'm glad you brought it up again here. I think it's important to hear.
But I also think Donna's bringing up an important part of AI advice, which is one of the things I stress when I talk about AI is you have to assume it will hallucinate, i.e. convincingly lie. So you really have to put a process in place to back check what you're getting on the AI, because even if it isn't completely right, you back check it and you may save several hours in research that you needed to do. But there's already a lawyer who filed a brief with the court and has a problem now because the AI that was used to do that cited a whole bunch of cases that, drum roll please, don't exist. Yeah.
I'm just speculating of other things that are similar. So I guess having multiple AIs programmed by different people would provide some protection, so that there's a balance. I mean, generally when you do a weather forecast, you don't use just one model. You use multiple models from different sources to see what they all say. Or if you see one AI consistently spitting out the same advice, privacy, that you get another one spun up to take the opposite position, and continually try to get to a balance. Is the best I think I can think that we can do to prevent a catastrophe of just when always challenge, always be challenging what the status quo is, and try to get the balance, and put one against the other. And I think that's the only way we're going to get the best advice we can.
Well, speaking of security threats, as we talk here in June of 2023, what are your thoughts around security threats that you see companies facing today, or is it just new variations on the same old phishing theme?
The things that I guess I get concerned about, you mentioned AI, you've mentioned deep fake, so you're not going to be able to tell anything that you see or hear if it's real or not, which is terrifying. But then also the speed that things are going to be able to happen at. So quantum computing, I think, also scares us too, of how quickly things can be assessed and hacked. or passwords cracked, or permutations done with that. So I think quantum computing is a big thing, but most businesses are still failing at the basic blocking and tackling, and where the human component is and the human error piece. That's still, I think, the biggest problem that most have to deal with. And I would say you don't have to be a bank all the time. You just have to not be the slowest gazelle on the Serengeti. Just be better than your competitors, and maybe you're not the one that gets taken out. So I think that's true for most companies.
Kinds of fun analogies this episode.
Yes, but see, did you hear what Donna said when she said we all know who the weakest link is? It's the people. That's an argument for getting rid of the people with the AI. But then you have a whole different set of problems.
That's very true. I mean, as technology evolves, you're just trading one set of problems for another set of problems. So it never really goes away. You just we saw that when we said, hey, let's move from on-premise equipment to the cloud, because that'll solve everything. Said, no, that doesn't solve everything. You just upgraded your problems, right? Or let's go from from a human to an AI. We used to worry about the human making a mistake, and now you have to worry about an AI deliberately, skewing results because whoever's or whatever it's been listening to, it's made up its own mind about what to do now. So it's like I said, you just trade one problem for another. It's definitely something we'll have long careers in, continuing to.
Cybersecurity and privacy. There is no free lunch.
There is no free lunch. That's very true.
Well, given what you see all day long, what is your best privacy or security tip?
I guess it would be to understand your crown jewels, what is of value to your company and what the scenarios are, around how that could be attacked and what controls you have in place to protect you and what options you have. That's generally where I spend most of my time with my clients, is talking about specific scenarios that we want to protect against, and why we want to prioritize, because you never have enough money, or resources to do everything. So you have to focus on the biggest things first. So that's it. That starts with the risk assessment, and that's what you stay worked on and focusing on over time as you're developing your program. But that's very simple.
So Donna, when you're not protecting companies or hanging out in the security community and the FAIR Institute, what do you like to do for fun?
Oh gosh. Well, I am a backyard beekeeper. I don't know if I've shared that with you guys before, but I actually do have several honeybee hives in my backyard. And I like kind of watching them and playing with them. And I'm kind of a gardener, and, vegetables and medicinal plants. I like learning, what things do and how they grow. And I think where I can unplug, and just kind of get away and get out in some sunshine and some fresh air. That's what I like to do.
So fun. Do you package honey as well?
I do. I have a whole shelf over here too of this year's harvest. We just have about, I want to say 30 pounds of honey that we just did with the last couple of weeks. So I mean, it's not a huge operation. It's enough for friends and family to share, but it's something that I really do enjoy. And they said the benefits of raw honey from your own community are have great effects on allergies and health. And it's just one of those rewarding things where you get not only the benefit of learning and watching, but something that you can use and is useful to others, and make candles and other stuff with the beeswax. So I just enjoy all that. I'm also trying to get into woodworking, although I don't know how to use most of the tools, but my husband is kind of slowly letting me get into his workshop there. So
very exciting. You can put me on the short list. I love local raw honey. That's super fun.
I'll definitely do that for you, Jody.
Where can people find you and learn more about all the wonderful vCISO services that you offer?
So my website is newoceansenterprises.com, or the other way to reach out to me is LinkedIn. I'm usually pretty active on LinkedIn. Just connect with me, say you'd like to learn more, and let me get back to you.
Well, wonderful, Donna. Thank you so much for all your expertise today. We really enjoyed it.
Fun as always.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.